Hi, this is Geoff Bostrick from SketchupTutor.com. Today I wanted to show you how to model a terrain park jump, snowboard park, ski park, whatever you want to call it, snow park. It also could be used for skate park design. I'm going to take you through step by step how to make this. So the first thing we want to do is go over to Sketchup.com. Download SketchUp. If you don't want to download it, there's also a version at mysketchup.com/app. It's like a online-based free version. There are some lessons here that I recommend going through the basics before you get into some of the more complicated things. So just go to sketchup.com and then click on Learn. It has video tutorials. Get started. Watch all those. A lot of it's for architecture, but it gives you a good basis for the skills, and those are good videos. It lets you learn the tools, so then you could go on and do some more complicated things. So I'll try to go as slow as I can here, but it might be a little fast for those of you who haven't watched the initial SketchUp.com videos. So, okay, here we are. We're in SketchUp. This might look a little different on your side if you're on a Windows PC or a Mac, but these are basic tools over here. So these tools all have shortcuts, which I'll try not to use so you can see what I am doing here. So this first one is a select tool. If you click away, the box goes away. If you click on him, it highlights him. So just click once on him and hit delete. So we're going to delete him. And then this here is the line tool. So if I click once and release, not click and drag, but click and release, and then I start moving my cursor around, I want to go along this red line here. And I want to specify the length of our hill. Let's do 500 feet. So now it's drawn a line, and if you hover over that line and you scroll down, it lets you zoom in and out. If you hover over the empty space, sometimes it doesn't work, so hover over that line. There's a couple of ways I could do this. I could do kind of rise over run. Let's just do that for now. We could determine that we have 100 feet of vertical on our 500 foot long slope. Another way to do it is to draw a line with a line tool, and then you can take this rotate tool. Then you'll notice it wants to rotate it this way, but that's not what I want. I want to actually rotate this line this way. So what I did was I pressed my left arrow key. If you press right, it goes that way. If you press left, it goes that way. So I press left arrow key, click once and release on this point, click once here and release, and then you can specify. I can say I want this to be 12 degrees, or I can type in 15 degrees. So what I'm doing here is I'm not going down to this box, but I'm just typing in numbers. 20, enter, 10, enter. So again, just to run you through that, click once, make a line, click over here on the rotate tool, click the left arrow key on your keyboard, click once and release here, click here, start moving in the direction you want to go, then type in your degrees, so 20 degrees, and we can get some different slopes here. And then I could just draw straight down along the blue axis, which is this one here. And I can hover over this point and use that as an inference, and you'll see that in the video, inferencing. Or I could just draw a little bit too far and then delete the rest, which also works. So anyway, we've got some different slopes here. I can use this push-pull tool, or keyboard shortcut P. If I could kind of make a little bit of a slope. But before I start putting things into 3D, I want to do everything in 2D. So with the select tool, I can make a box around these two, delete them. Okay, so now I have a slope and I can kind of zoom in from the side, and I've been using this kind of rotate tool here. What this is called the orbit. I'm using shortcuts, so I'll try not to do that so you can see what I'm doing. So you click and drag it to move that around to kind of look around. But we can get kind of lined up so we're looking at it from one side, and then zoom in by hovering over, scrolling up. And I'm just going to specify here. We've got a pile of snow. Let's say we can have enough snow to build a 15-foot pad here. So 15 feet tall. And then, so all I've done there is I've clicked once, gone straight up, typed in number 15 and then the apostrophe and enter. So that's 15 feet. So I'm just going to delete that one. Same thing here. Well, actually here I can just kind of arbitrarily draw a line straight out. And then I go back to my select tool, select that line, click on the rotate tool, click once here, then I could say, well, let's make this at 30 degrees. Okay, and there's a little bit of extra left over. And I can go back to my line tool. So I've hit the space bar, which is a shortcut for this one, the select tool, and then I go back to the line tool, and I can determine how far we want the table to be. So the gap is going to be, I don't know, 30 feet. Not 30 inches, I just typed 30 and press enter. What I want is 30 feet with the apostrophe. There we go. So then let's make it be about, I don't know, 5 feet tall. And then we kind of do the same thing we did for the landing. So we go over here. I make a line out. Doesn't really matter how far, just far enough. Use my rotate tool over here, this rotate tool. I've got the, you notice I have this line selected. First with the space bar, click there. It's blue, so I know it's selected. Then I use the rotate tool. Click once in the center. Click once anywhere along that line. Start moving it in the direction I want. Type in the angle, 30. Enter. And then I could delete this extra spot here. So at that point, we want to kind of make a transition, smooth transition from the slope to the angle of the jump. So I can do a couple things here. I can just take it with the arc tool, which is A for arc. Most of the shortcuts are pretty intuitive, but you could also use your icons if you can't remember. I click on this, and I can kind of determine where I want it to be. So I've clicked once in the beginning of the arc, once at the end, and then I can move slowly along to control how that bulge, and it'll kind of snap to where it's tangent to edge, so lining straight up with the edge of the slope. Now I can delete this line. That kind of just gave us a reference for where that 30 degrees was. Another way to do this is kind of more advanced, but I can rotate this. But instead of just rotating it, I'm going to press, as I'm rotating, I'm going to press the Option key, which toggles a copy. So it makes a copy. I'm going to make it line up with that. And it looks like one line, but this is actually split now into two lines. You notice that when I hover my line tool over it, an endpoint there, an endpoint there. So this is kind of like the same radius from here to here as it is from here to here. So click on the endpoints, and that lets us have kind of more controlled, perfect arc. Delete the extra stuff. You notice this isn't filled in yet, but we can solve that by just clicking on the line tool and redrawing one of those lines and then deleting the extra here. So we've got a basic jump here. We want to do a couple things to make it a little more fancy. Kind of round off the knuckle. And you'll notice if you move along, click once somewhere along there, and you slowly move along this, it'll turn pink, which means it's lined up at both edges. So I move along here. And if I double click, it automatically gets rid of the extra excess. I'll do the same thing here from the transition to the downward angle back to the slope. So clicked once there, going to move up along here. And this is kind of your choice about how you want to design the jump, how much transition you want in there. So there we go. We've got some of the 2D done. So it's just a single plane right now. And we could kind of build a road for the cats here. So I'm going to make this kind of come down here and do the same kind of process. Draw a line, double click there. This is with my arc tool. So click once in the beginning, move along this line, double click. So when you're zooming in, it really matters where your cursor is. So if you hover over and zoom in here, it'll zoom in over there. If I zoom in over here, it'll zoom in there. It also matters where your cursor is when you zoom out. So if cursor's over here and I zoom out, it kind of all moves toward my cursor. So just pay attention to where your cursor is when you're zooming in and out, and you may have to kind of adjust. Zoom in a little here and then move your cursor and adjust until you're at the spot you like. So here I'm going to delete the extra lines I don't need. This one here, and I can draw that to complete that jump again. Okay, so let's say this is how we like our jump. You could try all kinds of different designs and see what you like. So the next thing I'm going to do, let's turn this, let's keep it simple. So I'm just going to not do any grouping yet because that's for a later lesson. So I'm going to first select with the select tool. You'll notice when things are selected, you can select an edge or you can select a face. It's polka dots when the face is selected. Or I can double click and select the face plus all the outside perimeters, or triple click, select everything that's attached to that geometry. So I'm going to click once on the landing here. I'm going to use my push-pull tool. Actually, let's do one more thing. I don't want this to be a point here. Do a 1 foot, so clicked once there, 1 foot, enter. Probably 2 feet would be better, whatever. Okay, good enough. We made a little flat spot. All right, so we've got, let's determine how big this slope, how wide it's going to be. And so what I did was I clicked on this tool right here, the push-pull tool, or P. I click once, start going over that way. And you notice it kind of makes it hollow. If I press the Option or Alt key, it won't be hollow. So what I did was clicked once on it, started moving, clicked Option, started moving again. Make it 100 feet wide, this slope. Let's make this landing 60 feet. And then let's come here. And you notice I can use any tool to zoom. It doesn't have to be the select tool or anything. And if you have a mouse, you can set it up. It's actually set up so if you press down on the scroll wheel, you should use a mouse for SketchUp. It's easier. But if you press down on the scroll wheel, it'll automatically turn to the orbit tool, no matter what tool you're on. So you can kind of look around. All right, so push-pull again. Click once on this. We're going to go over, we were at 60 feet wide with a landing. Let's go over 40 feet wide with this. And then let's take this side and just move it over 20 feet. And there's something that goes on with these reverse faces, they're called. So this is white, and then this is kind of bluish. So if I select all these blue faces, I can select multiple faces by pressing the shift and clicking. So I'm holding down shift and I can select more than one faces, or I could shift, click, and remove those faces. And I right click, and then I can do reverse faces. So hopefully this will work. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to go over, I think that reverse face was causing a problem. So 20 feet. So we took everything from this plane and I moved this over 60 feet, this one over 40 feet, and then last stop, move this one over 20 feet. Okay, so here we've got a jump. Another thing we might want to do here is to, well, let's get it centered on here. So we can also take measurements. So tape measure, see what I did here. From that corner to that corner is 40 feet. So let's give it some room on this side too. So P for push pull. Let's go 40 feet over that way. And now there's a tool that we can use to kind of round off these edges, these sides, so they're not straight down. I'm going to go back to my arc tool here. And I click once. Make sure you click at the very end of this arc, because it's really easy to click on another point. So I like to zoom in to get more precise. Clicked once there, clicked once there, zoom back out. And I don't know, maybe 20 feet, just to keep things even. So what we did is made a point where we want that slope to come down to. You can use an eraser tool and get rid of this line because it's no longer going to be there. Okay. So we look at this from the top because I want to make a selection now. I just want to select this line plus this line. So let's get back to these. You can set up to do this easier. These are these little houses here. If you right click on this gray bar up top, customize toolbar, and then I can drag these standard views in. That'll allow me to change my different views looking at different ways. So let's do this one because it's a standard view. We also have X-ray here if you want to look through the model. Select tool. I've selected from making a box from right to left. I mean left to right. If I go right to left, it'll select everything that my box touches. If it goes left to right, it selects everything that my box surrounds. So in this case, it's only fully surrounding these lines. You can see what's highlighted in blue. So draw, it's in the top menu here. Draw sandbox from contours. So draw a sandbox from contours, and there we go, it fills in the edge. There's a couple other more advanced tools. The soap skin tool is one that I use, but this makes it easy, so that's all you really have to do. Okay, maybe I do have to teach you about groups because this automatically puts that in a group. but that's okay. We'll just leave it like that for now. This thing is kind of grouped together as a slice. So in order to get it on the other side, I guess probably the easiest way to learn or just do it again. So let's just do it again for practice. We could copy it 20 feet. We could copy it and paste it, but that might be a little more complicated if you're just learning. Basically what I would do if I wanted to copy and paste it, use the move key, and then I'd press Option. See, that makes a little plus. You can move it along, make sure I stay along the green axis. And then you can right click on it and do flip along. And I think we're going to do green here. Yeah, green. And I can move it again. So make sure you get precise and don't miss that point. So that's the way to do it, copying it. Of course, you could just do it again by selecting those lines. Make sure you get rid of the unnecessary lines. Select it again. Oops. Draw sandbox from contours. And there you go. So now you've got a jump. It's not really connected in any way. So the first thing I want to do, since these are in groups, they automatically put them in groups. First select them, right click on them, and I can do shift and shift click on the other one so they're both selected. Right click, explode is pretty much means ungroup. And you can see what's happened here. It's made like a complex shape out of all these little triangles. But if I click on the select tool and click away, that looks smooth again. So these lines aren't necessary over here, so I can delete those. They just kind of an artifact of the push-pull. So this now we can make a box around, make sure not to get any other lines. If we just want to get that jump. And now would be a good time to group it. Oops, we actually accidentally selected another line back there, I think. So be careful how you select it. Select it this way. Then I right click, make group. So cool, now that's a group. We have a jump that can be moved around independently from the slope. You notice when I use my move tool, I picked it up from this point because that point is touching the slope. Or if I picked it up from here, sometimes you have a problem where it sinks down into the surface. It's not doing it now, but it can do that. So pay attention to where you pick it up from. You can do a lot of things with this jump. I can scale it in different shapes here using the scale tool. I can make it a little more aggressive, a little steeper landing, steeper takeoff, widen it. So that's manipulating it as a group. I've selected just the group. If I want to go into the edit mode, I can right click, edit group, or a shortcut I can just double click. There's a couple things I can do here. I could select different parts and scale the parts. So you can see if I turn on the X-ray mode here, I can see what's going on. I can change the shape of this transition. I can select this and I can move it along the red axis. And there's a couple other things I can do. But let me turn off the X-ray. So one other thing I could do is I could draw a line from the, see how it clicks to the midpoint? I use my line tool. Here's a blue dot. We go from that point to that point. So we kind of have a midpoint there. It's kind of showing through that line, but that's okay. So if I were to make a copy of this, use my move tool, hit the Alt button, click, and I could make a copy. You can take this and then you could look at it. Maybe one gets scaled a little smaller or something. Whatever you need to do. And then you could use a tape measure and you could actually take real life measurements here and see, from the knuckle to knuckle how far your jumps are apart. You can, what else can we do here? I can take, this should be a solid group. So what I did there is I have a keyboard shortcut that hides the rest of the model. This is more advanced, but now this is a group. I could do entity info. So I right-clicked entity info. And it's not letting me, let me see if I can fix this. But you can technically, I see what's wrong here. I can find the volume of this. I just need to get rid of all the unnecessary parts, so it's just a completely empty shell. And let's see if that's a solid group. Sorry if I'm, yeah, now we made that a solid group. We have cubic feet, so that could be helpful for snowmaking or for cost analysis and whatnot. So there are a lot of different things you can do, but I just get you started. I'm going a little fast, I think. So I've made multiple copies. I've scaled them. Whatever I need to do to kind of get a visual. Another thing that you can do is you can pull in some real life things to give you scale. You can bring in a person. If I go to File, 3D Warehouse, I'm sorry, Sketchup, where is this? 3D Warehouse, share model. Why is it not letting? Oh, I'm not connected. I don't know. Just go to Google and type in 3D Warehouse. 3D Warehouse. Oh, that's why I'm not, my connection's down at the moment. All right, but you could type in terrain park and you can get models that other people have created, bring in snowcats and bring in people and snowboarders and skiers and make it look scaled so you can get a better idea for spacing. But that's it for now. I'm going to do a couple more of these lessons, and if you ever need me to teach you more advanced lessons, I'm available at sketchuptutor.com. Airport Wi-Fi, terrible. Whatever, yes. And anyway, sketchuptutor.com is where I am. You can take private lessons or group lessons if you want to get a bunch of people together that want to learn this. My 2017 rate is $50 an hour, so it doesn't matter how many people you have. I could teach a whole class, and I can teach you some more advanced things. For instance, I'll show you a finished park here. Whoops. Okay, we're a little zoomed in. But so this is a 3D model of a park that I designed, and we did some dirt work, so I wanted to make sure this was good enough to build in dirt so that we don't have to build it twice. And I wanted to get a good idea of what we're going to do to show to my clients and to show to the riders and skiers. And design some rails and boxes. And this whole thing is made in SketchUp. So you can kind of see it's all the way down to the corduroy. You can see what I did. So then we kind of have this whole animated thing that you can present and show on a website. You can export it as a video and show everybody what you're doing. And you could use it as a communication tool as well, kind of pointing, saying, oh no, we should do this here. This is dangerous. We don't like this, whatever. Whoever wants to be involved can kind of get an idea of what you're doing out there. So it can be very useful. All right. Yeah, if you need to get in touch with me, sketchuptutor.com. Hey, it's working again. Okay, I'll show you some of these things I've made. So I've done a lot of architecture stuff, interior design, park stuff. You can do actual individual product designs and rail designs too, and lay everything out with dimensions and furniture design, etc., etc. This is a program called Sketchfab, which lets you kind of post these 3D things on a website, which is cool. You could do shadow studies, which show how the light's going to fall based on the location you enter it in. Product design, storyboards for movies, whatever you need. Whatever you need. Yeah, you can get really fine detail down to individual products. Lighting, you can render it so it looks almost real if you want to really get crazy with it. Yeah, skate parks. This was one in New York that I helped this guy with, a little pump track. It's underneath I think it's Williamsburg Bridge. So I helped him model this, and he got approved for some type of grant because of this model. So it was helpful for him. But anyway, that's it for now. I'll make another one and show you guys some other stuff soon. Thanks a lot. Bye. How do I turn this off? All right.